I think we're live.
Oh, yeah?
Hey, what's up, guys? I didn't see you there. Sorry, we've just been chilling out, just watching Jean Claude Van Damme clips and clips of Steven Seagal running on YouTube.
Busy day.
Busy fantastic. It's just business as usual here at FloGrappling HQ, right?
Just dreaming about a world that could have been.
Man, I gotta say, I think that, maybe the contributions that those have given to the martial arts community and, as you say, the world in general are just so underrated, Just think about the good that Steven Seagal has done in this world.
Debatable, but Van Damme, however.
Let's talk about
Van Damme.
Dolph Lundgren,
Yeah,
Jean Claude Van Damme. All about it. Those guys are great.
It was the golden era of action movies back in those days, right? What's your favorite, Chase? I know that you're a huge Jean Claude Van Damme fan.
I mean, the correct answer to this, by the way, is Bloodsport.
Really?
It's the movie that kicks it off for everyone. And if you enjoy that kind of film, you then go down the rabbit hole of then Seagal comes into play, Bruce Willis, all the 80s action heroes.
See, now you say Bloodsport. I can't agree. I can't agree.
I need you to leave.
No, because how can you possibly say that Bloodsport is better than Kickboxer? I mean, Kickboxer is like the ultimate Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. Come on.
You've just started a blood feud. I do love Kickboxer. He goes to Thailand and all that stuff. But
dances in a bar.
That
does the splits.
is a
Punches guy in the
legendary
balls.
Jean-Claude Van Damme performance.
100%. I like where this is going today. Today is a great podcast.
We can talk about Legionnaire. We were watching Hard Target.
I used to love Legionnaire. That was actually one of my favorites. I don't think it got the credit it deserved as a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie. It gets overlooked.
I think actually the thing that really people don't understand is that Van Damme pioneered the twins thing, where he started 2 different movies with like doubles and partnering up.
Right.
Incredible. I think Double Impact was one of those.
Yeah.
And what is the other one?
There was another one.
What's the one with Dennis Rodman and Bruce Willis? Is that like
maybe that's Double Impact? Double Dragon? I'm mixing.
Double Dragon. There's only so many double puns.
But Van Damme did it all.
Yeah.
And it's Seagal did a movie of DMX.
Guys,
what was
we
that
have
one
our
called?
first comment coming in, and I'm afraid to say Chase agrees with me, because Ronnie Walker says that yes, Kickboxer was the best.
Ronnie Walker, and you can walk up into the sunset.
But he's right. Tong Po is the best martial arts villain of all time. You know that famous scene where he's like kicking the concrete pillar
that was
before
good.
the fight.
That was good.
That was very scary. But yeah, that's definitely between those two though, Kickboxer and Bloodsport, because Bloodsport, man, is just an incredible movie.
There he is.
It's incredible. Come on, remember when they? Yes, exactly.
Pocket Sand made his debut in Bloodsport.
Right, and they're fighting. He's got to find the tooth. He's got to find the tooth on the mat.
That's right.
And then that's like where I learned that there was like different fighting styles. There's like a monkey fighting style, and there's like just like a being big and tough.
That's pretty racist, I think, actually back then.
Big and tough, strong man fighting style, kung fu. Fighting.
I always liked how they always had like the token kind of like American bare knuckle biker dude or something. He'd just be the slugger.
Like, what was he good at? He was just good at like
violence.
Yeah. Like, what was his martial art? He was just like, I drink beer.
Kind of like bite their ear or something, like Tank Abbott style. I don't know. But speaking of Tank Abbott, man, I came across something the other day. He's like, apparently he's been in and out of hospital recently. He had like a straight up liver transplant and stuff. Yeah.
OG.
He does not
Snake
look
pit fight systems.
Yeah, he does not look like the Tank Abbott of old, because when I saw this old photo,
skinny.
I saw he's like super skinny and he's all gray and stuff.
He wrote a book actually.
Did he?
Yeah, he wrote a book.
No way.
Maybe a couple years ago.
Wow. I bet that's actually fascinating, because I bet that guy has got some incredible stories.
Yeah, it's all about his fighting in the bar rooms and stuff
brawls,
like that.
right?
Yeah.
That's where that honed
He
their
was the
skills.
original Huntington Beach bad boy, right? Like Tito straight up stole his nickname.
Really?
Yeah.
He's from Huntington Beach, huh?
Yeah, because Tank was like, dude, this is crazy. Like, but Tito was originally brought in to be a training partner for Tank, like in the late 90s. And then, like, obviously Tito kind of had a couple of matches in UFC, a couple of fights, and he started winning, and he became like the big star of like the early 2000s, right? But like, Tank was never an athlete, but Tito was. So it's a little bit of MMA history right there. But yeah, we're talking a lot about martial arts movies and stuff today, right? This is
Martial
nice.
arts movies. Where's some other like just straight up martial arts movies? I was a big fan of Power Rangers back in the day, but it's not
I watched a lot of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Personally, I was a huge fan of like the Jackie Chan and Jet Li kung fu movies as well. I got really into like the Hong Kong martial arts movies.
The Black Mask. I remember watching that.
Did you guys ever see the documentary Budo: The Art of Killing? It is so sick. It's like made in the late 70s, I want to say, and It kind of chronicles all of Japan's major martial arts like karate, judo,
Sumo.
Aikido. Sumo's in there.
Sumo's like the best one.
Yeah, the torture stretching exercises.
Yeah. There's like one 300-pound dude, right? He's like trying to do a split, and they're just like pushing him down to do a split.
I love the karate guy punching a train. He just is just punching a train over and over again. By the way,
well, you never know when a train might come up on your face, and you have to take that sucker out. So.
I will say the way to bring it back a little bit to the beginning of this, the way to judge a good Van Damme movie is if it has leg torture in it. So like in Bloodsport, his sensei rips his legs apart on the tree.
And the level of leg torture signifies the quality of the movie.
Exactly. Kickboxer, he's got to kick that tree until he snaps his shin or something crazy. There's a couple Van Damme leg torture scenes throughout his history. So
that's how you know.
That's how you know you got a good one on your hands, is if he's being forced to do the splits.
What was Van Damme torture in general? That's how you know it's good.
Watching some Van Damme movies is torture. But what was the first martial arts exposure you guys remember? Because we're all into jiu-jitsu now, but there was something else before that, right? So
I did. I think it was called Kempo karate when I was a kid.
But how'd you get into that? Did you get signed up by your parents?
I want to say my dad watched Seagal movies.
He was like, Chase, you're doing this.
He's like, we got to make you to a fighter.
You, Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I don't quite know, but I got into it early, 6, 7 years old, I want to say.
But I do feel definitely we would not be sitting at this table without Jean Claude Van Damme.
Hell no.
He's literally the reason why I I'm sure literally everybody.
I was feeling a bit down last night, so I watched Bloodsport last night. That's literally why I'm here today. So Van Damme got me in the office today.
The Bloodsport has the weirdest structure of a movie, because there's so much flashback.
There's a 7-minute flashback.
Yeah. There's a good chunk of the movie that's just a flashback, and you're like, oh yeah. Now back to the competition, but
bringing it back away from Bloodsport. What about you, Reid? What was your first martial arts exposure?
I had a friend in elementary school who did karate, and I think I went and did karate a couple times with him. I don't think I ever really signed up, but I do remember getting the Green Ranger martial arts VHS tape or something.
Whoa, he actually had a martial arts tape?
He had his own
an instructional.
Yeah, instructional, his own DVD, his own
Was it aimed at kids?
Probably. I mean, I bought it, so or
how many adults were watching Power Rangers? How do I learn that shit?
Was he wearing the actual Green Ranger outfit? Or?
No, he was wearing stuff more that you would see in Bloodsport, probably. He's wearing silk pants and some sort of belt, probably. Shirts.
Yeah. And he turned out to be the most legit of all Power Rangers. He actually fought MMA, fights, right?
Yeah. So
what's his name? Jason something?
I learned a lot of good stuff from him. A lot of valuable techniques that I still use today.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my word, that's amazing.
What is your martial arts origin story?
Way back.
Same, dude. Karate. I had friends in elementary school who were doing karate, and I got taken along to a lesson. I bugged my mother because I was a huge fan of anything like Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles and stuff, and I was like, I want to do this.
Ninja Turtles was a good one,
right? Yeah. And she let me go to one class, but then she wouldn't let me sign up. My mother wouldn't let me do it. I guess she had thoughts I'd become a violent hooligan. So
I'm glad you went out of your way to prove it right.
Yeah. I know. Right? But yeah, I had to wait a very long time before I actually got to really invest in the martial arts. So that's why the Jackie Chan and the Jet Li movies are living vicariously. I didn't realize that those guys were all on wires and stuff, flying across.
But definitely also UFC brought me into martial arts too. That was definitely
But I remember watching UFC way back in the day and just thinking it sucked. I was like,
really?
Yeah, because this is the complete opposite of most people watch it and they're like, it changed my life. I realized that there was more to fighting than just spinning kicks, and it was all about the groundwork. I watched it and I was like, this sucks. Where are the spinning kicks? It's what the hell are they doing? Just twisting on somebody's foot. That's bullshit. And so I completely discounted it for years, and then I was like, I suppose it does work, right?
Man, I went down the weirdest rabbit hole in 2006 and 2007 when YouTube came out, and I came across Pride fights and K1 and UFC stuff. I had no idea what any of it really was because I didn't really know. I just remember in the news occasionally MMA would come up as human cockfighting, and that's all I knew about it.
Yep.
And then I agreed when I watched Pride. I was like, holy shit, this is insane. Like,
True.
What is this stuff?
You watch some you watch some early UFC and you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of crazy. And then then you pull up like a Mirko Cro Cop highlight or a Vanderlei Silva highlight on YouTube that everybody was watching. And you're like, those dudes are the scariest dudes I've ever seen in my entire life.
They made UFC look tame. You know, you had like Matt Hughes like laying preying on people, and then you'd flick over to Pride, and like you say, they'd be like head kick knockouts,
soccer kicks,
flying stomps and stuff. And I was like, oh my god, how is this even legal? God bless Pride, man. Pride
somehow I watched this and was like, I should try that.
Yeah, right.
After like 5 years of watching, I'm like, I want to do something close to that. Not all of that.
Yeah.
Not all of
but
that,
something like that.
Man, the good old days. I don't even watch MMA anymore.
No. You should have seen this Jorge Masvidal Ben Askren fight.
Well, I
that
did see
happened
that
over the weekend.
Yeah. Basically, if an MMA fight can fit
Jamie,
into the
pull up
length
that
of
clip.
if an MMA fight can fit into the length of an Instagram video, I will watch it. But I never watch MMA anymore.
I tune in for the big fights occasionally, but I can't.
There's a
say
lot.
it.
There's a lot of MMA.
There is. Yeah, it's hard to. I mean, we have enough of a hard time keeping up with our own sport, jiu-jitsu. So to keep tabs on all the promotions MMA is tough. But
I know MMA is kind of, I mean, it's cool and all. I can appreciate, spectacular acts of violence. I can appreciate the artistry and setting up certain techniques. I don't really get the same buzz as watching jiu-jitsu guys in MMA though anymore. I don't know. Is it just me, or is I think we talked about this in the past, but I don't see any guys really doing amazing jiu-jitsu MMA anymore, and that's kind of one thing that I really.
Missed Lovato's last fight.
Last fight was
sick.
Have we talked about that? Like
how?
I think we mentioned it in passing.
How
that he
sick
won.
it is that Lovato is a world champion in MMA, Bellator champion.
That is
and he
incredible.
did it
That
with
is
jiu-jitsu, man.
so
It
sick.
was the takedown entries he was doing. Like he sort of pulled half guard almost. So he would go in for a single, a body lock, but then drop down to his knees and start wrapping up like a Lucas Leite style half guard sweep, and it worked. He did 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, get that underhook and come up with it.
And he was really torquing that leg when he had that half guard going. It was straight up just jiu-jitsu wrestling and working at the highest level.
And then the fifth round, right? His first ever fifth round, it was all jiu-jitsu.
I was worried there in the fourth. He was starting to fade. Look, he's getting a little tired. And Musasi was raining down some big blows through his guard, through Lovato's guard. But then he just dug deep. I don't know where he went in that minute rest period. But
so sick that it happened. Sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
So sick that it happened against Gegard.
Yeah,
Musasi too, right?
he's a killer.
A legend.
How many fights did he have? 50 fights or
Yeah,
something?
probably close to that
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
insane. In MMA, that's crazy. Right?
And he's had a bunch of kickboxing fights too.
Yeah.
So it's awesome that he did it against just one of the most well-respected guys in the sport. Gegard Mousasi's been around forever, so that was awesome.
What I really respect actually is that Lovato implemented a really solid strategy for getting his jiu-jitsu to work, because this is something, a criticism a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, especially the crossover jiu-jitsu guys have, is that they just walk into the cage and it's almost like they expect their jiu-jitsu to work. But it's not that simple, is it? Because you need to have really strong strategies for getting to the positions that you want to work from. And especially back in the day, but even still, unfortunately, you see some guys just almost like they expect to just close guard and do jiu-jitsu. And it's not that easy, it completely changes the game. You can't just drill some close guard from bottom or whatever. So it's that strategy of what you were saying there, Chase, about how Lovato was getting into that half guard attacking position and then using it to open up so much stuff. It's that's the jiu-jitsu that I get excited about in MMA
it's
nowadays.
really cool, man. I was standing up cheering when I saw that happen. Like, oh my God, he's doing it. He's doing it. It's working. So Dylan did really well with his jiu-jitsu as well, but not quite the same caliber of opponents as Lovato.
So speaking of Dylan, we saw Dylan last week, right? We were there in Orlando for Kasai Super Series, and he was there to corner Munchie, who had an amazing, I think, submission of the night, right, against Enrico Coco.
And who's also working on making his transition to MMA and doing it right.
That's right. He's currently working through some kickboxing, right? But it was, how long ago was Dylan's fight? It's a month ago, something like that.
Ago,
yeah, roughly. So, he's 2-0 now, and I said to Dylan when I saw him, I was like, man, the first fight, I don't feel that people really got to see anything because you tapped the guy out so quick. And Dylan was like, yeah, he's like, I wanted to really show people that I can fight, that it wasn't just a lucky submission in that first match, It's and the one thing I really enjoyed watching in Dylan's last MMA fight was that he was super aggressive and he was using ground and pound as a strategy to open up the submissions and stuff. I thought it was a good fight. It was a good showcase of his skills, right?
I know Damian Maia had another win pretty recently, I want to say, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And then we have another jiu-jitsu athlete fighting again this weekend.
Do we?
AJ Agazarm's on the next Bellator. I didn't even know that. You mentioned it this week.
No, it's true. He is fighting this weekend. I think that's actually really cool because AJ has... he was one of the most visible personalities and athletes, competitors in the sport for a few years there, right? He was one of the most prolific grapplers on the scene.
Very active, too.
You know, there's a gigantic AJ-shaped hole in the sport right now. But he's gone over to MMA. So, you know, this is the chance, though, because he's going to have to prove himself this weekend, right?
Yeah, he definitely had a lackluster performance his first time out. Wasn't able to finish when he had some pretty strong positions. So I think he's definitely hoping to turn that around this weekend.
Yep. Yeah. You know, I think it's a good point that it's like it is hard to win in the cage, and got to give it up for Dylan for going out there and being 2-0, because it's not an easy thing for sure to, especially a guy like Dylan, man. He's got such a big target on his back.
Hell yeah.
Everybody wants to see him lose. So it must be tough.
People must be lining up for the chance to fight Dylan. They want to be that first guy to take him out, right?
Yeah, and it's an attractive proposition too. He's not that proven yet. He's only 2-0. He doesn't have an amateur record. So if you're trying to make a name, he's a pretty good target. So definitely excited to see what happens next for him as well.
Speaking of Dylan, did you guys roll with Dylan? Did, right?
We rolled.
I did.
All of us rolled with him at
Rolled him a
Pans
couple
in
times.
2016.
Yeah, we rolled with him at the Ruka gym in California, right?
Yeah, that's the only time I've trained with him.
Yeah, I trained with him. Yeah, we all trained with him in the Ruka gym there, in the gi, right like day before Pans.
That's right.
And then I trained with him one time at Unity Nogi.
Oh yeah, cool. Because I think that's a really good segue into kind of the topic of today's episode, right? It's right there in the title: the best black belt you've ever rolled with? Question mark. Not statement. The best black belt you've ever rolled with.
So far.
Question mark.
Yes.
Best black belt you've ever rolled with.
Who is the best black belt you've ever rolled with, Chase?
Let's move on.
No, in all seriousness, I was actually thinking about this last night. Damn, I'm not sure, because there were a couple of really, really good ones, and I was trying to judge, like, okay, who's got the most world titles and who's the so okay, who is the best black belt you roll with? I think that maybe we could start off with a couple of criteria, because we've all had the pleasure and the good fortune.
All been very lucky
rolling with some very, very, very good ones, right? But let's start off. First of all, who's the most credentialed, do you think? Who's the guy with the highest number of accolades and titles and so on?
It'll actually be the gal in this case, Beatriz Mesquita, the female lady goat, and I did this little episode of Fix My Game where if you haven't seen those on the site, it's awesome. I roll with these athletes, and then they point out some things that are wrong with my game, and I also focus on some things they do really well. So for her, we worked on a lot of close guard and fundamentals and things like that. But yeah, I mean, she is the greatest of all time. I can't even remember how many world titles she has. It's insane. It's like 7, something like that.
And so what was
if you're counting World Pro and ADCC?
Yeah, exactly. She's run them all. Nogi World. So yeah, she's definitely the most credentialed.
And so what was the experience like, the actual role?
Man, there's definitely just a gap. Like you roll with a black belt at the gym, at our own gym, home gyms, and then you roll with someone that's world class, and it's incredible, you know. And there's no strength involved with her. She just takes advantage of like whatever I'm doing. It was just super fun and eye opening too, because what she was doing, as compared to like someone like Edwin, who's kind of flashy, you know, he's getting like crazy subs from somewhere. Hanato Kanuta, I've rolled with him too, and it's just like flying arm bars from anywhere. She was just killing me with like the basic stuff.
Really?
You know, was just limiting my movement and like taking my back from close guard, and you know, finishing me from side control with some really like what most people call basic things. And I thought I knew how to avoid them, you know, but I couldn't stop it. It was awesome. So it was really cool, and I definitely invite anyone who hasn't seen that episode of Fix My Game to check that out, because I think it's applicable to anyone in white belts and up. So some good stuff there.
That is really cool. Yeah, and I gotta say that Fix My Game episode is really cool, because I like Beer's Jiu-Jitsu because it stands out, right? In the modern era, Beer's Jiu-Jitsu is like the opposite of the majority of Jiu-Jitsu that you see. And if you really are one of those guys who likes, guys or girls, who likes good old-fashioned, traditional, functional jiu-jitsu that just works really, really well, man, that's the game for you, right? Beer's so good at that.
There's no real trends in her game. She just does what she does best against everyone.
For years.
Yeah.
For a long time.
How about you, Reid? The most credentialed, not the best, but the maybe, you know, in terms of like this, but the actual person with the most number of titles and awards and so on.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, we've definitely been super lucky to get to go all over the world and roll with some of the best guys in the world. But I would say it was probably either Andre Galvao or Marcelo Garcia. Probably one of those two guys. But I'll talk about the Marcelo Garcia one just real quick because that one was a great day. And I think Marcelo gave me a lot of good advice that day too.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he
imparted some wisdom.
He did. You're lucky enough to get to roll with these guys. And so, yeah, you definitely got to take as much as you can from it because there's so much wisdom there. And it can be definitely an intimidating thing, right?
It's still scary.
Yeah, it's very intimidating when you especially it was the first time I'd ever rolled with Marcelo, first time you ever rolled with Bia, right? So it's like a new thing, and obviously they have so much weight behind them. They have so many titles and things behind them.
You kind of have to remind yourself that. Damn it, they're just human. They have 2 arms and 2 legs, just like everybody else.
But then you roll with them and you realize they're not human.
No, I'm wrong. I'm actually wrong.
Yeah. But you do, like, I know what you mean, though. You almost second guess yourself because it's like, if I grab this arm here, it's like, what the hell are they going to do to me? They're just going to do all this crazy stuff because they know all these things. And it's like, you got to be careful not to beat yourself up before you even start.
What did Marcelo tell you? You said he imparted some wisdom.
Well, I had a great time with him, and they were doing 10-minute rounds that day. And so
was it gi, no gi?
It was no gi.
Cool.
No gi, and I like both. So, but
that's a lie.
It would be cool. It would be cool to roll with him in the gi. But I rolled 10 minutes with Marcelo, and then we stopped, and then he, we slapped hands, and he was like, "You want to go again?" And so I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Dude, you rolled 20 minutes with Marcelo in one day.
Two 10-minute rounds back to back.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And obviously, like you said, like the technique that Marcelo possesses is far beyond my understanding of sport of jiu-jitsu. I'm working on it. But it just feels like he's 5 steps ahead and everything. But I don't know. I'm trying to think exactly what he said to me. I can't remember exactly. But I remember some of the gist of it. What was about dealing with like the intimidation and stuff like that, and how going into a new gym is it can be tough, but I think it's like such a valuable thing to do is to go into a gym that you don't go to every day, and to seek out the tougher rolls or to seek out people that you haven't rolled with, because it can be scary and it can be very humbling. You can go into a gym, especially like Marcelo Garcia's, and get your butt whooped.
Absolutely, guaranteed.
Time after time after time.
I mean, it's almost guaranteed to happen if you roll with like the killers that they have in that room.
Exactly. So. Mateus even came up to me afterwards. He was like, "Man," I was gonna ask you for a roll, but you rolled twice with Marcelo, so I didn't want to be that guy."
Well, you dodged the bullet there.
Yeah. But
that's good, man. I wonder if it's still true because Marcelo, he used to have that thing, didn't he? He used to roll.
I see Seth calling me out on there. Seth deals beat my ass in Hawaii. Is that what happened? All right. Yeah, he Kimura'd me a couple times for sure. Seth's legit, but
did he get you with the twister?
He didn't get me with twister, but maybe he could. But the twister is like a wrestling move, so I'm hip to that one.
You know that stuff, yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, Marcelo, he used to have that thing, didn't he? He used to roll with every single visitor that came to his gym.
I didn't know it was every one. I knew he did it with a lot.
Well, I mean, I think that's not even possible anymore because he receives so many nowadays, But at one point it kind of was, and he certainly made the point of rolling with me like years ago when I visited his gym for the first time. But yeah, incredible, man. That's so lucky. Damn, 20 minutes from Marcelo.
No, absolutely. So cool. It was a great day. And those experiences, I feel like, make your jiu-jitsu grow so much because just to feel, everybody's felt somebody really good. But
well, speaking of feeling people who are really, really good, I guess like it's a toss up between the best and the most credentialed because. The most credentialed, like Caio, I think it is for me. Because
Caio as well.
Yeah, I've also rolled with Caio and Lucas Lepre. I feel like those guys are among the greatest as well.
But I mean, Caio is like he's world champion and a 11-time world champion. I think it is the no-gi world champion.
Yeah.
So he's pretty good. But the other person who I roll with, who has an absolute boatload of credentials as well, is actually Michele Nicolini. And Michele is that was really interesting because so I'm about 180, 185, and those guys are way, way smaller than me, of course. They're probably both like walking around about 130. So I go into a role like that, and I treat it very much as a learning experience, because I'm not gonna get anything by trying to go hard on anybody like that. And it's a chance to actually feel really, really solid functional technique as well, right? But I'll be honest, like rolling with Michelle was really awesome, because I got to feel this amazing half guard passing that she does. BJJ Scout had an amazing study of her like tripod style passing from half guard, which is really, really cool.
I remember the shin trap stuff too. She would do
from bottom. She didn't really do too much with me, but the passing stuff, I got to feel how effective it was. It was really good. But man, I think you guys probably had a similar experience. But rolling with Caio, he just messed me up.
He was telling Reid to go harder. It was hilarious.
He kind of did the same thing to me as well. It's like he's rolling like about halfway through, he kind of stopped and he looks at me and he goes like, he's like, you can go a little bit harder if you like. You don't have to roll so slow. And
he didn't even say that to me. He said you need to go harder.
Oh, you need to?
Yeah,
oh, there you go. Yeah. But I mean, like, rolling with Caio was really cool, because like I didn't feel like I initiated or could do anything. I just, how you said like Marcelo was like 5 steps ahead? Like that's totally how I felt with Caio as well. I literally never felt in a position where I even had one grip that I could do something. Everything was reacting to him, whether it was top or bottom. And I got to feel the famous footlock as well. Right?
Oh yeah, I
footlock.
Got caught with that a few times.
He put it on really nicely as well, because he kind of caught it and he looked at me and he's like, here it's coming, it's coming, it is.
It's tight, it's tight.
Who smashed you guys the worst out of the pros? They're all super nice, so it's a little bit more rare when they put it on you.
They don't usually beat us up too bad, do they? I think if they did, they worried that they might not get too much coverage on FloGrappling.
Like, I gotta get kind of gentle.
Yeah, so they're a little bit too nice to us.
I would say, even though he was extremely nice by anyone's standards, Wagner was pretty tough to roll with, and he
gave us a taste. Yeah, he gave us a taste.
On the scale of Wagner, though, it was like a 3 out of 10. He takes it to a whole other place. Yeah. But I could see how just like his game is just like smothering and uncomfortable and miserable, and it was so impressive.
There was a moment
light,
I always like really, really give a hard time to people who tap from pressure to positions. I'm like, that is such a pussy thing to do, And
don't
like,
sugarcoat it, Hal.
No, I'm straight up saying, like, you tap to pressure, you're a bitch. It's like, come on, this is jiu-jitsu. There's no tapping to pressure, right? You just suck it up. Literally, my hand was like this. It was floating. When Wagner, he got the rear body lock, and he like put me face down, belly down, and just like, I didn't even know what he did, but the hips just kind of went down, and I just went, and my hand was like freaking float. I think maybe he saw it, and then he kind of like backed off, because like I said, he just gave us, he was like rolling with me and Chase like 10% at most, and then he dialed it up to about 40 just to let us feel it, and then he dialed it back down again, and it was like,
I never made the 40.
Oh my god.
Man, I was gonna say that it's usually like the purple or brown.
Oh my god, yeah.
They
put it on. They go after you. Yeah.
The black belts are usually pretty nice to me, and I feel like I'm gonna say a couple names, and they're gonna be like, we went super easy. I went super easy on you, man.
No, it's true. Whenever we go visit a gym, especially together, like I feel like I'll drop in someplace by myself and no one really recognizes me because it's just me. But when it's like Reid and I, and Reid's got the hair and stuff, usually have some cameras with us, like, oh, these are the Flow guys. And holy shit, the entire gym is like, I'm gonna get a piece of the Flow guys, and they're just coming after you. And
they're like lining up.
That's the best training I'll ever get, because it's real. Like some of it's real. Those purple belt juveniles just like coming to kill you.
I gotta say though, watching like you two roll, I didn't roll this day, but I remember watching you two guys. One guy who messed you both up pretty bad.
Thanks, Hal.
And pretty mercilessly was Josh Hinger.
Oh yeah, Josh was pretty brutal too.
Because
that was back in the day. That was 2016.
It was back in the day. I mean,
I'll give him a better go this
time.
time.
That was a good session, because you both got to roll with Andre and you both got to roll with Josh. And Andre was like super playful and smiling the entire time and having a lot of fun. And like Josh was like, I don't know. He's like, how many times could he guillotine you both in one round?
I think it was like
he go plotted me. So
yeah,
that was his Facebook banner for a while.
Foot in my face.
That was good. I sent him that photo.
Oh, great.
Oh my word.
But that was pretty nice. I'm trying to think. I think I'm like, I've puked a couple times at some gyms, and I think I was rolling with Carbolito one time, and I was like, I can't roll anymore. And then I was rolling at Unity a couple times, and I was like, can't roll anymore. But
I've never puked from training. No, one time.
I
Just one
haven't.
time. That was actually at Paragon, just at my home gym.
Wow.
It was just really hot. It's so hot here in Texas. We don't use AC. And
Man, people have no idea how hot it gets here.
Yeah.
Really don't. I mean, like, what is it? It's like yesterday, for example, I saw people posting, pictures of the thermometer in the car, and it was like 110, 115, 120 in some places. It gets hot as shit here in Austin, Texas, right? But I mean, even training in Brazil,
We don't tap pressure.
We don't tap
here in
the
Austin.
But even training in Brazil, where it was like, hang on a second, I need to convert metric to.
if it's over 30, it's super hot.
I've trained in the hottest I ever trained was the about 110 degrees Fahrenheit in Brazil in a room with no air conditioning.
Oh my God, I've never
And
gotten that high.
it was Terra Ray's gym actually, and it was like had like kind of no windows. The windows were like this big. They were like a slit at the top of the room.
How did nobody die? Like,
I mean, I wanted to. I straight up wanted to. And that's actually the day that a 90-kilogram black belt decided that he was going to fly in triangle over my seated guard. And
That's a good feeling.
And I didn't roll for another 3 weeks after that. My neck was jacked. But anyway, oh my God, it does get so hot here, right? It's like, because you guys just don't have AC in gyms. It's freaking
they're
brutal.
all
sometimes.
I don't know, gluttons for pain, I guess. All the coaches, they want to make you suffer.
I don't dislike it in some ways though. I mean, I'll be honest. When the thermometer does get really, really hot, like some days I kind of second guess. I consider like
I've got those text messages. I know that.
the text messages saying like basically, no, screw training today. It's way too hot.
No, I think it's worse. I hate going back to the East Coast.
And then training in the
during,
cold?
during the winter, right?
Oh.
And it's just like freezing cold in there, and you have to you put your gi on, your gi's all stiff and everything, and it's like so cold, like, and then you have to get warm. Like, at least when it's 100 degrees, you're already sweating. So
For real, man. Actually, I love that. The fact that you basically sort of quick. There we go. I'm warm. Let's go.
yeah,
You just
warm.
train.
Yeah.
I'm not a morning training guy. I hate training the night. All the pros train like 9 a.m. or earlier, and when I have to go to that, I just want to die. Like, I immediately,
same.
I tell people, like, if you are on a mission to like kill me, just find me before 9 a.m. in public, and I'll just tell you to end it right there, because I'm just not
when
ready.
you're only halfway through first coffee of the day.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'd rather be dead. So to fight for my life that early is just like a pointless exercise.
What would be your favorite time of the day? What would be the optimal time of the day to train?
I like a 12:30, 1 o'clock class, like enough to where I get like a snack in around 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Let that process, and then go train, and then I also have the whole evening to just do whatever I want. That's a perfect day.
I like the night training. I like a night training.
Night
session.
training?
Yeah. 6 p.m., 7 p.m. I like those for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a morning guy either. I don't think any of us are really, are we? But like those freaks who train at like 6 a.m. jiu-jitsu class, like
That would be a hard thing to do.
I mean, I can't.
I don't know how Gary and Gordon, those guys, do that.
Right? I can't imagine walking onto the mat at like, basically while the sun is still rising and being asked to try and murder somebody. It's like, I don't have that level of intensity in me at that morning, that time of the morning. But I always used to really, really enjoy training at like 4 in the afternoon. Like back in Brazil, we had a 4 o'clock in the afternoon class, and it was about perfect, because I would get up in the morning and I would work through till about 3:30, and then I would basically clock out and I'd run to the gym, and I'd train from like 4 till 6 approximately. And it was just like the optimal time. It wasn't too late in the day when I was tired and out of energy, and it wasn't too early. It was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like,
Sounds pretty good.
it's a civilized hour.
That's good.
But the lifestyle in Brazil is a little bit different. Like here, a lot of people get out of work that early. I think if you went to a class, it'd be kind of empty, right? It's like either they duck out on their lunch hour,
class,
or kids class after school. It's like either they duck out on their lunch hour or they do it after work. It's like, I think the Brazilian lifestyle is a little bit like, nope, it's 3 o'clock, time to go to the beach, let's get out of here, So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can get behind that for sure.
Now I'm trying to think of a really well-known black belt who messed me up the most. And to be honest, like, the ones who have messed me up the most in training are just like random black belts that I've encountered in Brazil. Like a lot of the time, these guys just have like zero name. And like, I remember when I first moved to Brazil, the first couple of years there, I was training at Gordo's gym. So Gordo had a gym, and every Saturday morning, they had the open mat. And literally, I had never seen that many black belts in a room at one place, like up until that point. I'd walked in on the first Saturday morning open mat, and there were like 25 black belts chilling, and there were like maybe 8 colored belts. All the other colored belts. It was just like a ton of black belts. And I discovered that a lot of these guys, a lot of them were old school Gracie Barra guys. So a lot of them trained at Gracie Barra during the week, and then Saturday morning, because Gordo came from Gracie Barra, a lot of them would go train at his on Saturday morning. And it was just like rhymes. And it was just, man, like going in there as a gringo purple belt, you know, like they would look at you and they'd be like, fresh meat. There's my rest round right there, you know. There's my warm up, and I mean, some of them were just like I say, you know, older dudes, you know. Some of them, like there was this one guy I remember. He had the craziest nickname. It was Carlos B3. Don't ask me why, but that was his nickname, Carlos B3.
That's a sweet nickname.
And apparently he was a judge. Apparently that was like his job. He was like a judge, and he was the meanest, nastiest black belt that I used to roll with in those sessions. And he was like probably a solid 210, like 5'9", just a brick of a man, like no neck, and it just like would viciously paper cut at you from like side control. And you know that horrible pass when they kind of stack pass and put the hand in the collar and don't finish the pass, they just lift the hips over up and just choke you from there. You're like, your feet are kind of flopping around in midair and you're like tapping frantically. Yeah, he used to do that a lot. So brutal. But the craziest thing was like that room of like I say, 25 kind of like black belts, all of them really, really solid. The day that Roger Gracie came in to train, just, man, that was wild. And I actually had my camera with me because I was doing a little video with him that day. And he just walked in, and of course everybody knows who he is, right? A lot of those guys knew him from when he was a kid, when he used to train at Gracie Barra. And he walks in, and he just went through the room like they were white belts. Wasn't even close. Really wasn't. And like,
what year is this?
2011. So this is a while ago, but I mean, he'd still pretty much stopped competing in jiu-jitsu at that point. But holy crap, man, just goes to show that there are levels to this thing. There are black belts, and there are black belts,
and then there are black belts. Right? You know, no, that's one of the best things about jiu-jitsu, right? Is that like, to get there, to get to the end, you have to take your beatings. You know, you have to go through it. You have to know what it's like, no matter what. There's somebody better than you always, every gym you go to. And so I think like going to different gyms, rolling with different people, rolling with higher belts, rolling with elite competition and stuff like that, it only helps, because it only lets you know how vast this sport is, lets you know how vast the knowledge of jiu-jitsu is. Because like, right, it's when I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 6 years, and when I roll with Marcelo Garcia and he makes me feel like I've never even heard of jiu-jitsu before, you know, it's incredibly humbling.
It's that phrase, isn't it? It just shows you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
It's really true, and you get constantly reminded of it, day after day.
I like the fact that it's always evolving as well. So it's not like there is a finite point where you're like, I hit the bottom, or that's as good as it gets, because it's always something new, right? There's always something else coming along that's going to change things up.
Yeah, man. I feel like I've been really going after the lapel stuff. You know, Keenan's definitely changed my perspective on that. Before, I just knew the worm guard, like very basically what it was, but now it seems like everyone's been embracing lapel variations. I've seen a lot of cool stuff on Instagram of guys like doing weird inversions and just like, I don't know, it's endless, right? So I've been trying to see where the lapel takes me.
You know, speaking of that, I saw a video posted by the Dream Art project the other day.
I love that one.
Those guys are hip with that too.
Right, and it was the Muniz brothers. So we featured these guys a lot, Eric, Alex, and Anderson Muniz, who are now training in the Dream Art project in Sao Paulo, the Alliance talent development system. And it was just like a short Instagram video of this, drilling this technique. And I mean, wow, it was like lapel guard armbar, man, it keeps going, right? It's just when you think that it's kind of hit a point, we're like, okay, yeah, I think that's kind of established now. It's like there's somebody comes along and adds something else. You found something cool the other day for the lapel stuff, right?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, the magazines.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I thought you meant my own game. I'm like, no, I haven't discovered anything new.
Still struggling.
still having a hard time there. Yeah, so I was going through some old jiu-jitsu mags, and I saw Keenan on the cover, and I scrolled through and found his techniques, and it was just called lapel guard stuff. Like, I mean, it was just lapel guard techniques. There wasn't any branded stuff like squid guard, but he was showing squid guard. There was an arm bar from there. I think he had a cool knee bar set up, but it was all the kind of modern stuff he's promoting now that he was.
This was like 2014?
2014, so
wow.
He's been working at that for some time.
It looked like that same armbar that he hit on that Ignacio Neto that I have. That I have a clip of.
Yeah, so
it looked like the same technique.
It wasn't invented yesterday, I guess. Keenan's been workshopping that for a long time before he puts that out.
I got to roll with Keenan.
Oh, you did?
None of it didn't work on me. None of the words didn't work.
You hear that? You hear that?
I gotta say, shout out to Keenan and Josh actually for the new podcast, Matt Burn. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. Some really funny stuff on there.
Yeah, I've been enjoying listening to that. So it's nice actually that there are actually quite a lot of jiu-jitsu podcasts out there, right? We've been doing some research this past week or so, me and Chase, because Chase has a new show coming out called
Chasing Greatness, a little pun there, if you will. But it wasn't always called that. It was going to be called Free Roll.
Until we found out somebody
else had that, so we had to change it up a little bit. But I'm super excited to start this new series. It's kind of branching out from a few Skype interviews that I had done over the past few months, and they did well. So we want to make it a little more formal, a little more official. So I'm doing a weekly series called Chasing Greatness, where it's
who's your first guest?
First guest is 2018 world champion Muhammad Ali, and it's just an overview of his life, his experiences in the sport, where he came from, all kinds of stuff. And it's not just competition focused. It's just what jiu-jitsu means to him. I think one of the more interesting segments is how his life changed and didn't change after winning a world title. He had all these assumptions like, I win the world title, I make money. Nope, no one hands him anything. So he's got to create this hustle. And so we talk a lot about his YouTube series called Sotinho. I think I'm saying that right, or close. And it's a weekly interview that he does with just various legends and athletes and so on in the sport. Really cool stuff.
Very popular.
Very popular. I wish I spoke Portuguese, but he did tell me he's going to launch more English content.
Good.
But either way, it's super cool, and I love getting to meet these guys and chat with them about what we all love so much. That's his entire life, and it really is my entire life now too. So to have these vastly different experiences and yet love it the same is really cool to connect with. So I invite you guys to check out that show and give me some feedback. Let me know you want to hear more of, who you'd like to see. So
suggestions for guests would be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. Right? I'd love to open it up. There's no rules. It's supposed to be open-ended, free form. Just what are we talking about today in jiu-jitsu? So it's good stuff.
I like it. And speaking of new releases, Reid, you've got a really cool project which is about to drop that you've been working on for months and months. I feel like. Tell us about it. What is it?
Yeah, we got some exciting content coming up here on jiu-jitsu. Got a lot of all of us working on some really cool stuff. So definitely keep an eye out. We're ramping things up and bringing more and more cool content, but this is one that I'm especially excited about. This is a kind of a new series that we're launching on FloGrappling called The New Guard. And the jiu-jitsu landscape is changing, especially right now. Right now there's so many new black belts, and there's so many new stars in the sport emerging all over the place. And so the New Guard is going to be a new documentary series where we kind of profile and follow along the next generation of stars, the future of jiu-jitsu. And
this is not limited to black belts either, right?
No, we're definitely identifying guys and girls who are, who I think have a strong chance and who have been in the sport for many years already, have had some big wins and things like that. But yeah, definitely at purple belt, at brown belt, in even black belt. We know how hard. How high level these purple belts now are, these brown belts are now. And so right out the gate, we're leading with a guy that we know very well here. I've been following him for the last 3-4 years. Roberto Jimenez, purple belt world champion, and really, really excited to tell his story. He's got such an exciting story.
Well, especially that moment that he won the purple belt world championship as well, right? That stands out because it was freaking epic. You couldn't have written a better story, right?
Man, for me, what's so cool about it, watching it, is all the archival footage and stuff. I mean, we've been following this guy for years, but we've been filming him for years. Yeah. And Reid collected all this footage from 2016 on, and it's just so cool to see Roberto kind of grow up in front of the camera, you know, in its own way. So I think it's probably my favorite Flow film documentary style piece we've done.
But just tell us really quick though about that Purple Belt World Championship right there, about what the actual, because maybe people don't realize, because 2018 World Championships, a lot happened, right? And maybe, you know,
feels so long ago even now.
It does, and maybe got overshadowed a little bit because, hey, it was just the purple belt, and, you know, the brown belt, black belts as well. So what actually happened with Roberto?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the most impressive things that happened at the World Championships there that day. You know, going into that tournament, Roberto wasn't really as highly touted. You know, we thought maybe he was going to need a couple years to get acclimated to adult, but he came in and he put on a show, and he had 10 fights between weight and absolute, and he submitted all 10 of his fights. He won double gold it was his first major title at adult. He never won Europeans, he never won Pans, never won Nogi Worlds, and he comes out at Worlds his first year in the adult divisions, submits all 10 of his opponents, including guys like Mason Fowler and Connor DeAngelis. It was a stacked run, and just one of the best stories really of the day, to see how he was able to overcome a lot of these setbacks that he had earlier in his adult career, and how he righted those moments and was able to come out of it, the other side, and just a great story. Roberto, a really great guy, and it's a lot of fun. We just put up a little animation in there. We got a lot of different elements, archive footage, interview footage, the animation, some old matches of Roberto when he's like 6 years old. This is some cool stuff that I think you guys are gonna really dig. We got a couple more in the can that we're working on. This is going to be a thing that we're going to do regularly.
So New Guard's going to be a series?
Yeah, we're going to do a series and really make sure that everybody out there is hip to the next generation, to these guys who are making waves in the lower belts. Their first year at black belt. These guys who are innovating the sport forward and everything like that. I think there's so much talent out there, and we got to highlight as much as we can of it.
So speaking of talent, actually, I mean, without kind of revealing anybody who's going to be your future featured stars on this documentary series, but just very quickly, just go around the table, New Guard. When you say the words New Guard and you think about those up and comers in any belt color, who kind of stands out for you? Start with Chase. What do you think?
Man, I mean, I think it's hard to deny Will Tackett at this point. I mean, he's been all over our site for the last 2 months, basically. Every day there's a new story about him, but he's winning a lot of stuff, and he's a teenager, he's a purple belt still, and also, of course, a young American star. So definitely always interested in seeing people come from places that are not supposed to have major breakout stars. He's not from San Diego, he's not from New York, he's here from Austin, Texas. So
I got some interesting tidbits about William Tackett, actually, is that he was actually at Kasai last week because he was competing 2 days later on the Jiu-Jitsu King, which was in Tampa. So he flew into Orlando and he was there for the Kasai on Thursday night. Excuse me. And then Saturday he competed at the Jiu-Jitsu King 16-man, 165-pound no-gi tournament, which was purple, brown, and black belts together. Incredible. He won, right? And he did really, really well. He had I think 3 submissions in 4 matches, including a very fast 1 minute 10 second submission of Enrico Coco. Now, that's a big deal because Enrico's an 80cc veteran no-gi specialist, right? So pretty noteworthy. But it's interesting because there's a lot of buzz around William, and not just from us. People are noticing. The guys from Kasai, they noticed, and they hit me up and they were like, what do you think about us putting William on the show? And I'm like, I think that's not a bad idea. I think he could do pretty well. On his I think it was on his podcast, the Keenan's mentioned about how he wants to bring together various guys, Americans, to make up part of his new team, right?
Interesting.
And he straight up said that guys like William Tackett and Cody Steele and those guys, he would love to have them. So if people like Keenan and the promoters of Kasai know your name and you're a purple belt, that's pretty freaking good, right?
Yeah, and I know Seth was real hip to the Tackett brothers. There's 2 of them.
They've
really early.
Win, right?
I remember. I think the first San Antonio show we went to, I don't even remember what year that was. He was talking these guys up. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely people are clued in. But now the general mainstream audience is starting to get a taste, I think.
That's really cool. For me, one up-and-comer, new guard guy that really impressed me this year, both at Pans and Worlds, and I'm excited to see develop. I think he just got promoted to brown belt not too long ago. Was Mayram Alves.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So he's a young guy. I think he's light feather or feather.
Light feather.
Light feather, and he's out of.
I think he might be feather because he's kind of small. It always stands out to me like he's small for the division. I mean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's a lightweight guy, and he's competing out of Gigo Jiu-Jitsu in Sao Paulo in Brazil, but also reps TLI because he, the interchange, they kind of have like this exchange program going on with Gigo and TLI, right? Actually, Lloyd Irvin was explaining it to me a while ago that it turns out that Lloyd and Gigo, they both got their black belts from kind of the same source. So that's why there's a relationship between the two teams, and why a lot of Gigo guys, when they go to the States, they go to, do their world training camp, for example, at Lloyd's, and that's why they kind of rep like from both teams and stuff when they compete. But Mayram, I mean, wow, Pans especially, he just tore through everybody. He was like flying submissions. He had like 4 matches in the space of about combined like 3 minutes or something, and put the guy to sleep in the final. It was just freaking epic. So he's a guy who stands out. I'm keeping a close eye on him. Nice kid as well.
He's a ton of fun to watch. He looked great at Worlds too until the final match where he ended up getting second place, I believe. Last minute advantage or last minute 2 points. I don't remember.
Shock.
Yeah, it was that new rule there where it was like he came up and then he went back down.
He came up for a takedown and sat down. And
a few people got caught out.
Yeah.
You got caught out with that, right? At Pans, I remember. Because remember you came up off on that sweep from the half guard, and then you decided to sit back down, and the other guy got 2. And I was freaking out because I was in the corner. I was like, "What? Like, no, wait." But a lot of people, I think, they maybe that rule passed them by. So anyway, who else you got, Reid? Like, maybe you don't want to spoil the documentary.
Yeah, maybe not. But I guess I'll give a shout out to Fionn, just because I think that Fionn's a great candidate. Fionn Davies there from East Coast Jiu-Jitsu. Now she trains out in Ireland, and she's just she's had a great run at black belt since she's graduated black belt. So I think that she is somebody that definitely embodies that kind of new generation, I think.
I'd love to hear more about her judo background, right? Because she's a high-level judo player earlier, and I don't know anything else really. But when jiu-jitsu came into the fray, so
yeah, agree. Actually, I'd really like to know more about how she comes from. Actually, we come from the same country. We come from Wales, right? Which is part of the UK, and it's small, man. We it's like 3 million people, in the entire country. It's not exactly known as a hotbed of jiu-jitsu talent, but we actually have like a lot of jiu-jitsu there now, like a lot of homegrown black belts. But she is by far, the highest profile and the one to have really gone on, broke onto the scene and done something special. And I'd kind of like to know how she managed that, because it's not easy getting onto the highest level of, the world stage, but certainly not coming from a place like that. It's like, again, like you said, not coming from San Diego or New York or Brazil or whatever it is. So it's nice when you see some people kind of, it's like the Norwegians, it's like the Vikings, right?
Those guys definitely.
This is a great example. I don't even know the population of Norway, but it's pretty small, right? And they're way out there. They're not even like the metropolitan center.
There's like 127 people, I want to say.
Yeah, 128
in Norway.
I think we counted.
Last
time we were there.
You met them all. Awesome. Well, guys, it's probably a good time to wrap it up. That was a good episode today.
Back to Jean Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always let's throw it on.
Cool. Well, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us once again. Another episode of Fistful of Collars. I think we'll probably do this again next week or thereabouts. Actually, yes, we are doing it next week because we have a very special guest coming into the studio next week. None other than 3-time world champion Claudia Doval.
Gonna be awesome.
It is. We always like having guests in the studio and getting a multiple-time world champion like that. Yeah, fantastic. So look forward to that. We'll be shooting a bunch of stuff with her in the studio and just in town over that couple of days. We'll probably fix my game out of that, Chase, right?
I hope so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd love to get another one of those shots. So
get some techniques, get some other stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Cool. Well, you guys, see you next time. Yeah.